What's going on, guys? It's Miles, and I wanted to do a breakdown video of the mix that I did for this video right here. Okay, so currently, right now, I'm on Ableton Live 10 Suite. Yes, I know I have to upgrade, whatever. Um, so I guess let's start with the kick. First things first. This is what it sounds like with no plugins, just raw from the mic. And I'm using a Shure Beta 52A. Looks like this. And I'll make a more like in-depth video of like what mics I used and how I like placed them, but that's something for another day. So this is what it sounds like, no plugins. You know, you can really hear like the snare and like the hi-hats and stuff. So the first thing I added was this compressor here, and you can see I have a -29 threshold and a -6 out with like these ratios and attacks and all that. You can copy that down if you want. But the difference that the compressor makes is pretty crazy. You have, it goes from this to this. Gets it a lot more like kind of thuddy and clicky sound. And then next I added an EQ8. Kind of barely cutting out some lows here, like really lows, like subbies, like under 10. And then I boosted up like around like 100. It depends on like how much your kick is tuned. I have a 20-inch kick, but it is tuned like almost as low as you can tune it. So it's just kind of relative to how much like also how much bass you want in your kick. And then I kind of started cutting out like frequencies from in like the 1,000 to like 500 range. And then pretty much everything from like 2,000 up, I like increased. So that way it would have like a more clicky sound. So then without the EQ8 and without the compressor, it sounds like this. Right? And then with it both, it sounds like this. Really getting a lot more bass and click. And then I just added a gate to get rid of some of that like snare. Doesn't do a lot. You don't need the gate, but I just had it just to really like clamp down. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to look at the snare. And on this snare, I have a 14 by 5.5 Yamaha Stage Custom with a black chrome Evans head cranked like a lot. And I think on the bottom it's just like a Ramo Ambassador hazy. And this is what it sounds like. Tight and punchy, right? So then the first thing I added was this EQ, which scooped out the lows like subbies because it's a snare. Why would it need subs? Boosted kind of around like 100. Super cut out like around 700, 900. And then brought back up that high end. And so this is what it sounds like without. And then with. Really just getting that nice like kind of bright sound. Then I added a gate just to kind of get rid of those hi-hats. Isn't really doing much again, but I could take it or leave it. Then I added a compressor. You can like copy that if you want. And so now without all of those plugins, and then with. Cool. Now let's talk toms. So I have all black chromes for my toms and just like the stock Yamaha Rezo heads. And I'm not going to go into like the tuning of them. Maybe I will in another video. But a big thing that I saw was happening when I hit like a kick drum, it would like resonate my toms, and it was like, I don't want that. And I also didn't want a gate either because like toms, you want them to ring out. So this part takes a good amount of time, but it's worth it, trust me. So I cut out all the like stuff where I don't play and it's just kick and it's just boom, boom. Like I don't want that. And then I cut out just stuff like this. Right? Just like little Oh my gosh, my computer's going crazy. Okay. So my toms honestly aren't tuned the best. Like this could Yeah, no. But it's the stuff that I have on it. Oh my god, I got it. Okay. So I have an EQ which let me turn that on actually. Cuts out lows, cuts out around like 500 and boosts like the most of the EQs I do. That's my compressor, kind of just giving it like a nice little more full sound. Same thing with this other tom. Just a little bit different EQ, as you can tell. This had a lot more of like cutting around like 800. And it sounds fine. And then when you get them together, they just... Another big thing. Pan your toms. Another thing that I see is like... There's two ways to pan drums, right? You either have it be panned... How do I say this? Panned as if you're facing the drummer to where their hi-hat is on your right and like their ride is on your left. Or you pan it as if you're the drummer, so your hi-hats are on your left and your ride is on your right. And that's how I do it. And so on my tom, I have it 30 left, and then my other tom, I have it 25 right. And then floor tom, I have just a little more right. And floor tom pretty much has the same stuff. EQ, really cutting out that low end so you can hear, or the kind of mids. So without that and the compressor. Actually, let me... That's the raw without any plugins. This is with the EQ. Really boosting up those like lows. Then the compressor. Sounds good. Overheads. So with overheads, the biggest thing you can do is have them the same distance away from the center of the snare drum as you can, right? So with that, I know a common like measurement away from the snare is 42 inches. I had mine 44 inches. So it really doesn't matter as long as they're the exact same difference, so there's no phasing, right? And on the overheads, I just have EQ, because this is what it sounds like. Just their overheads, and then kind of boosting up, or most cutting until like the top end. You get it. Same thing on the right overhead. I don't think I changed too much. And that's really it, honestly. And I do have some stuff over here, but not that is really important, but I'll get into that in a second. So with all that, I think everything's on. With all that, this is what it'll sound like. Sounds pretty good, right? But it can sound better. So what I'm going to do here is put everything that's not the kick into one group. And then I use this really cool plugin, RevPlate 140. And it's just like a plate reverb. And these are the settings I have it on. I'm kind of like minus 45 decibels for the drive. Modern model, kind of like in halfway between 1 and 2 minutes of decay time. And then 0.030 blend and full width. And listen to the difference this makes with the drum mix. So Here's it off. And here's it on. So much better. Okay. Then you're going to make another group with everything. And actually, I don't know why those are in there. I don't use those anyway. And you're going to do EQ8, another one. And just, I have this plugin called Adapter Metric AB, and you can load in songs. So I took Time Machine, which is kind of the like drum sound I was going for by Everything Yes. Great song. And I just used AI Splitter to just split it into like different instruments, and I have the drums here, so this is what that sounds like. Right. And so what I like to do is I see how the all that's like sounding like. And so for me, I just have a little more sub, but this is all just because I downloaded it off of YouTube. But if you look, my waveforms are pretty close to how Time Machine is. Right. And so that's a cool thing. And so before I added the EQ, that wasn't there. And so now it's just a little closer to that. And then utility, literally just turning it up a little bit. That's all that does. And that's it. So this is the completed mix of this drum. Let me get to some of the more like and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to be making another video talking about like my mic placement and which mics I use. And like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just have tried stuff, and like this isn't the first time I'm recording drums. Like I've done a lot of recording. So really just find what you like and just work on different stuff until you find what you do like. If you're like, I like how this guy's drums sound, then steal all my stuff, because most of this stuff is stock plugins. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. Yeah, catch you guys later.